Oh, it's streaming live on YouTube.
It's streaming live on YouTube.
And then it's saved on YouTube?
It will be, yeah, it will be on my YouTube channel. I'll put that information in later where people can find it. So if you want to actually have it, this is where you have access to that. And I'm just going to be muting people, so just for you to know. And of course, I can't unmute you because there's good policies for that from Zoom. And so let us actually get going. Okay, welcome to Widen Your Gaze Fridays. I'm so happy you're here. My name is Luc Bouchard, and I have been running these meetups since we all went into lockdown back in the end of March. And as I mentioned, this is my 87th, my 86th, 85th group that I'm doing. And what I do is before COVID-19 hit, I actually had a video production company and I was booked and I was working and things were good. And then we went into lockdown. And what I ended up having to do is actually fall back on other skills that I have, my other background. And I have an executive coaching background, an HR consultant. So my content for the most part in my webinars is really about taking people out of survival mode and into thrive mode. So I do, and I'm going to be talking at the very end of all my webinars so you can see which ones I have. But at its heart, whether or not I'm producing video content for my clients or whether I am being an executive coach, I'm doing the same thing. And that is I'm acting the capacity of what I call myself to be a message crafter. And basically what I do is I position people as experts so that they're able to be seen by employers or by as a consultant or as an entrepreneur, what shining light you bring out. That is what I do. And that's what I do very well is I help people have distinction. So this is Widen Your Gaze Fridays, and Widen Your Gaze Fridays is a segment I have where I bring in other subject matter experts to talk and to give them the platform. And it's quite literally that. I want people to go from this to actually seeing the bigger picture. It's a 10,000-foot view. And when Lynn and I had the opportunity to talk a couple of weeks ago, it seemed to me that she would be an ideal fit to have her come out and talk about, especially the applicant tracking system. So here we are today with this presentation, and I'm actually, without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing and let Lynn take it over from here. And the thing that you need to know, if you don't know this about her, she has her own groups that she's running and meetup and a crazy amount of meetings, like a crazy amount, what, 1,000 a year? Is that what you told me?
1,000 a year. We have sometimes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 a day, and we're all volunteer run. So it's pretty amazing.
Well, I think you're kind of underselling. You're the driving force behind this, Lynn. Like let's say that you're the one that really has made this happen and has moved this quite. And Mike's moving and a PhD candidate, right?
Actually, EDD.
EDD.
I'm a doctor of education.
Doctor of education.
As of Sunday, I'm done with 4 out of my 9 courses because I was ABD. So I just have to basically write the dissertation, and I'm working on coursework towards teaching and learning in higher education. So I want to be in career services in higher ed when I grow up.
Fantastic. Okay, well, I'm going to now turn it over to you and stop talking because I came to hear you and not me. So.
All right, excellent. So I'm going to share my screen. And now what I'm going to ask everyone to do is get out your camera because I want you to take a picture of this particular slide. And that way you will have the link that you can refer to afterwards. This is meant to be consumed with more information and links after the fact. And I'm actually going to put my information in the chat as well as the link to the presentation, and you may follow along. So this way it will help you not have to take some notes on some of the content, and you can only take notes out of anything profound that comes out of my mouth. So this particular presentation, let me give you a little backstory and back history on this. Back in 2013, I was a job seeker myself, and I spent 11 and a half months on unemployment, and I ran out 1 week, and then the following week I actually started a W-2 job. But for 7.5 months, I was not getting any interviews, and I could not understand why. And I came to find out that my resume submissions through the applicant tracking system was what was preventing me from actually getting my resume seen. I spent an awful lot of time networking, but I spent an awful lot of time online. And I truly believe that networking is the way to your next job. But you still have to understand the applicant tracking systems, and that the bots that are reading your resume. I do know a few people that actually did get jobs by applying online, but for the most part, most of the people I know, they get it through networking. So here's a little joke for you. When I was doing this particular presentation back in 2014 is the first time that I did it. There were 45 seats in the room, and there were 80 some odd people there. So that meant there were 40 some odd people that were standing. It was a very hot topic, and I've probably taught thousands of people doing this presentation since 2014. And you're going to learn a little bit more of the backstory as to how this actually came up. So today's learning objectives, I want to give you some tips and best practices for ATS systems, learn how to analyze keywords from a job description, learn how to analyze key titles, and as well as learn some tips for formatting your resume. Now, if I were to ask you what percentage of resumes are never seen by the human eye, they go in that proverbial black hole. If you were to go and Google that question, I could give all kinds of citations and references, and I didn't cite this particular number, but it is approximately 72% or so. And there's lots of citations on this that you will find where people's resumes just do not get read, even though they're very qualified. So you're going to see on some of these slides, there's some underlined content. And what this means is that you could go back in and click on these links and read or view, the content after the fact. So basically what the applicant tracking system is it's a software platform that's going to help human resources in the human resource department use their resources of time wisely. So for example, you've all heard of Vanguard, I'm sure, because they're a something $1 trillion company, and there are only so many humans in the human resource department that work at Vanguard. But when I spoke to somebody several years ago, they said that at that point in time, they had 79,000 people a year that applied to their jobs. So I'm sure it's more now because they've grown by leaps and bounds. So there are not enough humans in a human resource department to look at 79,000 plus resumes. So basically what this software does is it helps people analyze the resume against the job description to streamline processes and time and pick the best candidates with what I'm going to call my favorite term, matchy-matchy. So do you have the keywords that are matchy-matchy to the keywords that are in the job description? Now, what happens is you're going to submit your resume online, and it's going to go through a parser. And the parser is going to read the resume for keywords, but it also reads the words before and after the keywords. So there's something called contextualization. And so the contextualization is where it's reading whole entire phrases. And what it does is it gives a mathematical score based upon how it matches with the job description. So for example, Java may be a keyword, but it has to be framed with other words before and after. And then that mathematical score will come and see how it matches to the job description. So what do you need to do? You need to optimize your resume. So I believe in having a base resume, and then you're going to take your base resume and you're going to go file, save as ABC company, file, save as XYZ company, file, save as LMN company, whatever it may be. You're going to take that base resume and you're going to customize it and do the matchy-matchy with the keywords. So you have to have a resume format that's going to be easy enough for you to streamline and do that. So I'm going to give you a bunch of tips and I'm going to do some demos along the way. And I want to share with you how you can optimize your resume. So the first thing is you need to have a targeted headline. A lot of people have the words profile summary at the top of their resume. I'm going to call that a wasted line. Would you write the words profile summary in the headline of your LinkedIn profile? Probably not. So don't do it on a resume. Don't waste that line. Tell people what you want to be when you grow up. If you are in HR, if you're in IT, if you're in marketing, finance, accounting, let me know what it is that I'm looking at when I look at your resume. What is this field that you are in with your expertise that you're applying for a job? Now, underneath the profile summary, you typically have a little paragraph of a few sentences, and I'm going to call that your value proposition. And I typically write it in a third person implied I. It is not third person. It is not a bio because it's your resume, but you don't want to waste it with pronouns. And I do the same thing on LinkedIn. I do that first person implied writing or implied I writing, but also on LinkedIn, I do make it more personalized and make it more with the I, but I really, really do not care for starting sentences with the word I. To me, it's my opinion and I'm sticking to it. It's more narcissistic. I would rather have something else start with a little phrase. Currently, comma, I, just as long as it's not starting with the word I. I think it just softens it a little bit, but it's okay to use the word I in a LinkedIn profile, but it's typically not considered resume ease in a resume. That's why you do with the first person implied I. And I also think you need to have core competencies with applicable hard and soft skills. So there is an article you could read about a targeted headline when you click on that link. So here's an example of the type of resume that I write. And this is the top half of the first page. So basically, if you think about top of the fold, in a newspaper, you have the headline, which is the top of the fold, and that's maybe what's going to sell the newspaper for the day. Then you have a website, and before you scroll down, that top of the fold, so to speak, has to entice somebody as a visitor of the website before they're going to stay and click on this, that, and the other thing on your site. They have to know the WIFM, what's in it for me kind of thing. Your resume, same thing. Research says that 6 to 15 seconds is what a human eye will give you as far as a looky-loo on your resume. So what that means is pretty much the top half of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper on the first page. You have to capture them, you have to entice them. So if I had the words profile summary at the top, that would be a little bit more blasé than me saying, I do career management, job search, resumes, LinkedIn, author, technology trainer, etc. Okay. So the core competencies you're going to notice are all in alphabetical order. What I've done is I've created something logical. that somebody can skim and scan. A lot of people put their core competencies in and they're not in alphabetical order and they're smashed all together paragraph wise. Because these are in columns, it's nice, neat, clean. It's easy to skim and scan. So if I was applying for a job as an executive assistant, that hiring manager would go to WWord, EXcel, PowerPoint. There's non-linear reading going on. Does this person have the necessary skill set? And are they going to take away my pain points? Do they have the tech skills or whatever I need for them to do the job? So by putting it in alphabetical order, what you've just done is you've made it easy because somebody's going to pick up on that. Their brain is going to sense that, hey, this is in alphabetical order, and I'm now going to look for this person and can they solve those pain points? Now you see the next section I have is called career highlights. Those are otherwise known as accomplishments, and accomplishments should be quantifiable. Increased sales 325%, supervised 88 people in over 4 countries, increase or decreased expenses 22% with a $1.4 million budget. Whatever it may be, anything that's quantifiable over your entire career, these are things that are transferable skills. If you did it once, you can probably do it again. So I'm going to do a live demo on headline and keywords. So I'm going to flip my slide here and give you LinkedIn. So here's my LinkedIn profile. I do invite you to connect with me. I prefer to have a personalized message, so at least I know where you came from. So what I would like you to do is to go to this jobs tab on the menu bar. And I'm going to use the greater Philadelphia area as the area that I'm going to look for a job because that's where I come from. You have to cap. So what I'm going to do is type in the word project manager. I'm going to tab over and I've got greater Philadelphia area saved. So what I'd like you to see is that there's 2,185 jobs for project manager in the greater Philadelphia area. Now, if I were to take that and I were to change it to project management and click search again, you're going to see that there's way more jobs, 6,749. Now, I'm a writer. So if I were to put down writer in greater Philadelphia, I would see that there's 302 jobs. But if I change that to written communications, I'm now going to see that there's 12,791 jobs. That is a far cry of having a keyword from 302 to 12,791. So this is what I do when I do resumes and LinkedIn profiles, is I cannot even begin to write one for you unless I have you set up in a system to look up keywords, synonyms, various iterations of the words, and various titles. If I were to ask you if you were in marketing, VP marketing, vice president marketing, marketing manager, marketing leader, marketing professional, manager of marketing, any of those iterations or anything like it, which one would be the biggest hit to be able to find a job? You wouldn't know that until you did the research. Let me give you another example. A lot of people are in accounting and they do the word budgeting. So if I were to say, okay, LinkedIn, here's budgeting. There are 3,121 jobs in greater Philadelphia. What if I were to put in budgets? Well, that's a little bit more. That's 3,728. What if I were to put in the word budget? That's even more. There's 4,052. So let's say the job description said budgeting, but on LinkedIn, you've got keywords because it's a database. And there are various places in LinkedIn where you need to put keywords for the algorithm to reach out, especially for people that are having the LinkedIn recruiter platform, as well as people that do Boolean searches on LinkedIn. And if you don't know what a Boolean search is, that is using the operators and, or not, all in capital letters, in order to find somebody. So let me give you an example of that. If I were to go to my nonprofit's website, greatcareersphl.org, and you were to go to the search bar, if you wanted to learn more about Boolean, I guess that was the last thing I searched, you just type that in and you will get articles, and you'll see how to do a Boolean search on LinkedIn and how to construct a Boolean search for LinkedIn on Google. And that'll give you step-by-step instructions. So back on LinkedIn, you've got to have the keywords that match LinkedIn's database. You cannot make things up. But you also have to have the keywords that match the job descriptions, and those are all individualized, which is why you customize each and every job description from the base resume. So that's one little demo. There'll be more that are coming. Are there any questions that we have thus far? Luke, are you moderating the chat, or do you want me to take the questions at the end? I don't hear anybody. All right, I'm going to keep going. So,
sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. I apologize.
Oh, that's all right.
I was just going to say that somebody has raised a concern about the chat being in the chat going to YouTube, and it's not. That's internal, and it doesn't get loaded up there. So, good question. Never even occurred to me that that might be a concern. Thank you. And I'm not seeing anything else right now besides a lot of people have given their LinkedIn profile and stuff like that. So, really good.
Okay, great. Okay. So the next thing that you can do to optimize your resume.
Can I jump in with a quick question?
Sure.
Sorry, this is Mark Strano. Hi.
Hi, Mark.
The contextualizing is the first I'm hearing of that in the process.
Yes.
So when you show bulleted competencies without words before or after, they register as keywords, or do they get skipped over because they're not contextualized? Or is that strictly for like a paragraph of words that it's contextualized?
Yes, so contextualization is part of either the bullet points or sentences or paragraphs on your resume, whereas the bullet points are the keywords. So it's kind of a combination of keywords and keywords with contextualization, reading whole phrases.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. Appreciate it.
So you also want to remove images or graphics on your resume, and don't put in any logos or pictures. So we're going to get a little bit further down into things where I'm going to explain a pretty resume versus what I call a deconstructed resume. That is a Linism, I believe. I don't think I've ever heard anybody else call it that. I guess it's because I was formerly in the construction industry, and construction versus deconstruction, that just totally made sense to me. So you could have a pretty resume that may have images, graphics, logos, pictures, but you cannot put any of those in an applicant tracking system. So there's two words that are going to come up a little bit later, but I might as well explain them now. One is called attach, and the other one is called upload. So when you see the word attach, that means that you're going to attach a pretty resume. When you see the word upload, you're going to upload a deconstructed resume that has absolutely no formatting in it. It's going to be Arial 12-point font, end of story. So that pretty 2-page resume may actually turn out to be a 3 or 4-page deconstructed resume when you take out all the columns and tables and other formatting. Next, you want to have potentially a one pager for networking. So this is my example of a one pager, and mine is more colorful, and I have some icons in there. This will never work if I use the top of this for a resume, and it also has 2 columns. So this is not something that an applicant tracking system best practice would be to submit anything like this, but a one pager is meant for networking. So when you are with other job seekers, you want to let people know who you are, what you do, and what your target companies are. So if you look in the bottom right-hand corner of my one pager, it says that I want to be in higher ed career services. I've named some universities. I'd like to work for LinkedIn, Google, workforce development, etc. So this is to let people know who I'm targeting for a future job. But this is not something that is going to, this format's not something that's going to work for a job application to a company. So you'll see the yellow link on that particular page that will take you to our website to an example of a one pager. It's just a black and white one, but that's something that we use when we network at some of our meetings. Now, in order to optimize your resume, fonts do matter. I did mention Arial 12-point font. When I did a lot of the research and reading, I realized that you don't want to go less than an 11-point font on your resume. And all these fonts were mentioned in various articles. The only font that was mentioned in all articles was Arial. So that is why I take my Calibri 11-point resumes, that are pretty resume with those blue bands, and I deconstruct it and I use Arial 12-point font. So that way it'll hopefully be read by the ATS.
We do have a question. Do you mind if I interrupted?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it is, can you recommend a particular template that works best for marketing sheet or one pager? Also, for that matter, any easy update template for resumes would be great too.
Okay, so I don't give out my particular templates because that's how I make a living. A girl's got to eat, you know. But that link that I gave you for the one-page networking page from our website, there's a Word document as well as a PDF, and you can take that and use it as a template. You're going to see a link to an article in a little bit, and that's where I came up with my resume template, which I call research-based. So that's coming up, so hang tight for that. Now, a lot of times, you know, if it's the holiday time, if it's Christmas, you can turn letters into red and green. And if it's Hanukkah, you can turn them into blue and gray. If it's Mardi Gras, you can turn it into purple and yellow. It doesn't matter. You can also take any text and highlight it and turn it white. So there are some people that say, oh, what you should do is you should take the job description and highlight the whole thing and change it to a 1-point font and change it to white so that you can submit that at the end of your resume and you'll have 100% match. You know what color it comes out at the other end? It comes out in black. So what HR is going to see is that you were sneaky and that you did exactly what I just described, is made all the text of the job description a 1-point font and put it in white, and that you're trying to pull a fast one. Well, that could do a 50-50 thing for you. It could either be the HR person saying, oh, aren't you clever? Or the HR person could say, I don't know about this person. That just doesn't show me good integrity that they would try and do that and kind of be slimy like that. So I honestly would not recommend doing that. I think it's better that you apply on your own accord with your own resume and you don't include the job description, but you learn how to incorporate the keywords and the phrases from the job description. So don't hide white text in your resume. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. Now, you might not want to put relevant or bridge underemployment jobs in your resume. We are in some very interesting times right now, and there are senior level people that are driving Uber. There are, before COVID, I know there were some mid to senior level people that were working in Macy's, because you got to have some income. You got to eat, you got to pay the mortgage, you got to pay the gas. You might have kids in college, but you might not want to put that particular bridge job or underemployment on your resume. So in that case, you're going to have to fill some gap somewhere. So, you know, if you're volunteering, perhaps as a mom in school, and you're coordinating activities or fundraising events or something, you're still utilizing business skills. And whether you're paid or not, it doesn't matter. I mean, you're still utilizing business skills, and you could be a consultant to that school or that classroom or whatever it may be. So I would typically want to tend to put more the positions that are relevant to your job, rather than those bridge jobs. But that would be up to you. That's a 50-50. When you fill out a job application, that's a different story. That's different than your resume. Now, you also want to be aware of special characters. I did research and I found that solid black bullet points are okay, but you kind of want to stay away from arrows or check marks or anything like that on the resume. And you definitely don't want to put any tables or borders around the entire page or going across the page, not for the resume that you are uploading to the applicant tracking system. But you could put the shaded bands or, you know, borders or whatever on a pretty resume where you're going to attach to an email or give to a person by hand or send in a snail mail in an envelope. Totally different scenario. But when you are submitting a resume online to an ATS, and there's over 200 ATSs. So the big ones are like iSIMS and Workday and Taleo. So when you're dealing with those, you do not want to have anything but this Arial 12-point font resume that is totally deconstructed and has nothing in it.
The question, Lynn, is what about squares as bullets?
I did not find that those were acceptable when I did my research. Just solid black bullets, just like you see on this deck, is what I found that was acceptable. Now, if you were to take your resume and you were to take it down to a .txt file, basically those black bullets or any of those things would become asterisks. And I just do not like the TXT file look. So I manually deconstruct. Are you seeing my things on the screen? Are you seeing text messages on the screen?
No, but it's
No.
very,
Hear the sounds too. Hold on.
It's
Let's hear
down.
the beeps.
Yeah, sorry about that. Let me see if I can fix this.
Yeah, they're quite piercing too. So
Yeah, this is my daughter's. I told her that I was presenting and I have to fix.
kids.
Yeah. Quit on that. Okay. I apologize. Okay, hopefully that has fixed it, but one never knows.
I'll let you know if it continues being a problem.
Okay, thank you.
And the question is, is the deconstructed resume just all text in one big paragraph?
You're going to see some samples of that coming up. Okay, it's just Arial 12-point font, and you'll see it coming up.
Okay.
All right. Did I answer the other question when we got interrupted by all those dings?
I'm not sure. There's more questions coming in, so I'm actually going to ask people to wait just
Okay.
to the end because there are some of
Let me
the.
keep going on. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Lynn.
So this was the resume that I was using for 11 and a half months. Well, actually at least 7.5 months. And you could see it has 2 columns, and I used little arrows, and the top part was actually in the header. So what happened is the applicant tracking systems, they were reading my name, my phone number, my email, and my LinkedIn profile, and it stopped. Why? Because there was a section break. So when you have to do your resume, you're going to start in the Word document, no headers, no footers. And this particular resume did get me an interview, but it was because it went through email. It did not get me anywhere online. And you want to check for spelling errors because the ATS may miss keywords if they're misspelled. So for an example, there was a lady who did a lot of work in Romania, and she had Romanian words in her resume. And those were not getting read because we are here in the United States with English, American English. So Luke is in Canada. So if there was the word color, he would be spelling it C-O-L-O-U-R. In the United States, I'm spelling it without the U.
So true.
You need to apply using the spellings that are appropriate for the country in which you want to apply to. Same thing with organization. In Australia or Britain, it's with an S. In the United States, it's with a Z. So just note those little
Lynn,
things. Yeah.
did you say no headers and no footers in the deconstructed resume?
No headers or footers in a deconstructed resume. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So you also want to make sure your contact information is at the top of the page, not at the bottom, not at the side. And check your spam folder. I got a quick little story for you. My daughter and I were drinking Herbalife a few years ago, and they had a contest where somebody could make a video of if they were a client of a distributor, and they could potentially win a trip for 2 people to Los Angeles, get a whole bunch of swag and get money and blah, blah, blah. So my daughter was a video editor. She actually went to a school at Ryerson University in Toronto because I actually married a Canadian. So both my girls are dual citizens. So at Ryerson, she learned how to do video editing. She was a contestant and one of the final people that was selected for this contest. But believe it or not, as the distributor, when I got the email from Herbalife, it went into my spam folder. And before I even caught it, what happened is the deadline passed, and I had a 20-something-year-old in tears. So let's put the shoe on your foot. If you found a dream job and you had all the qualifications and you applied to this job and it came back in spam saying, hey, you're a really good fit for this job. We would like you to contact our HR department to set up an appointment. Click on this link or call this number. And that went into your spam and you missed it. You would probably kick yourself. So my suggestion is to make sure that you check your spam folder every once in a while, because when you're dealing with these automated systems, there may be some automated replies based upon that mathematical scoring and that contextualization. Now, you also want to make sure that you type the date on your resume after the employment. So there's a certain order that you have to do things in. So the top line is going to be the employer name, comma, city, comma, state, which is 2 characters. Tab over to the right, and it's going to be the date. Then underneath, you're going to put your job title. Do not put it in any other order. Do not put it all on one line. That's not typically how the ATS systems are set up to read your resume. So if you look down at the bottom of this screen, you're going to see there's 2000 to 2019. Both of those have short dashes. Those are called N dashes, EN. Why? Because an N is short, it has 1 hump. And that's the difference between an M dash, which is a longer dash. And if you think about it, an M has 2 humps. So that would be a longer dash. So your homework is to actually go and do a little grammar refresher lesson and look up a little grammar rule on what are M dashes versus N dashes and how do they get used and how are they different from a hyphen. So typically on a resume, I will be the teacher with the red pen and I will go through and I will mark up everybody's resume because this is one of my little pet peeves is I like consistency and I like the attention to detail. So I change all the M dashes to N dashes. I actually go in and hit my mouse behind the M dash. I hit delete and then I hit the dash again, just so it's all consistent and looks nice throughout. Now, lots of people put the 2000-2019 without the space. Personally, I prefer it with the space. I think it's a little bit neater, cleaner look. Now, when you get to the applicant tracking system, it really wants to have months and years, not just years. So on a pretty resume, I will only put years. On my LinkedIn profile and on my applicant tracking system resumes, I put 09/19 space dash space 06 dash slash 20. So I think it just looks cleaner and neater if you just have the years on the pretty resume, but the ATSs do want to have more specific details. Now you also want to try to send your word in a Word or rich text format. However, I don't really see rich text format being requested. Sometimes a PDF is requested, but most often it's a Word, a .doc, or a .docx. Whatever the application suggests that it wants, give it to them the way that they ask for it. Now, please know that PDFs can be readable or they can be non-readable. They could be images. And a lot of people that don't have really good tech skills may not know the difference. So I'd like to tell you the difference. If I were to take a resume and I were to pop it in my printer and I were to scan it, or if I were to take my phone and take a picture of the resume on the countertop, those would both be images. Those are non-readable PDFs. But if I were to take the Word document and go File, Print, Save as PDF, that's going to give me a readable PDF. And that would be okay if it asks for a PDF file. Some people get really uptight about saying, oh, this recruiter's going to change my resume. Well, if the recruiter is trying to change your resume with a little bit of verbiage so that they sell you to the client because they know what the client is looking for and they are in crunch time, they need a Word document, not a PDF to manipulate. So a recruiter is there because they're on your side, they're part of your team, and they're trying to help you get a job. They are not adversaries. So don't think that it's a bad thing that they want to change your resume to help you get a job.
There is a question.
Sure.
Sorry, Lynn. Is there a picture we can see for text on page 10? This seems to be very precise and would be helpful to actually see it.
You mean this?
Who's that? Sorry, is this Valerie? If you could just unmute and just ask your question. I know other people had asked questions, but that seemed very specific, so that's why I'm letting her jump in.
Yeah, I was just a little confused on what this looks like because you're saying type the date of your employment after your employer. So are you supposed to just put like on one line your employer, and then the next line you're going to put the date, and then the next line? So you're going to have one of these things.
Top line, employer name, comma,
Okay.
city, comma, PA for Pennsylvania or whatever 2-digit code. Oh, tab over, put the date.
Okay.
Okay. Next line down, job title. Next
Okay.
line down could either be bullet points or it could be that sentence that tells what the company was or what the job was before you get to the bullet points. Either or is
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Now, uploading your resume is much preferred over copying and pasting the resume into little text boxes. So if you are uploading your resume and you have to wind up going copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, fix this, that, and the other thing, that should be an absolute red flag to you that your resume is not getting read by ATS systems. So let me give you an example. You might have heard of a company called Del Boomi. Del Boomi has a workday system for the ATS. About a year ago, my daughter applied to Del Boomi and she sat with me. We were up at the cottage in Ontario, Canada, and we were sitting right next to each other enjoying our Labor Day weekend. And she says, Mom, I want you to be here and I'm going to tell you exactly what's happened with your ATS deconstructed resume. And what happened was it read 3 things wrong, but the whole resume uploaded within a second or 2. The 3 things that it read wrong were that it did not put commas between the city and the state. So she had to go back in and fix that. It took her volunteer experience and it put it into her work experience. And then it took all her first bullet point and it took the bullet point out of it. She didn't have that sentence that described the company or what it was that she did. So she just had to put the bullet point back. But other than that, within seconds, it read her resume on the Workday system when applying for Del Boomi. Now, is Workday for Del Boomi different than Workday for another company? Yes, it could be, because there are humans in the human resources department and they have the ability to change the parameters of the application reception through the system. Let me give you an example. If you went through and you thought that your ATS friendly resume, you put it through jobscan.co, that's something that's coming up too. If you put it through JobScan and they said, oh, you have a 92% match, they want to see 80% or more match on JobScan. Well, if you put the 92% match and you applied to the job, there might have been lots and lots of people that were at a 96, 97, 98, 99% match. And if the human in the human resources department put parameters on that, you might have gotten booted out. So let's do a hard number example. A job application. We've got over 40 million some odd people that are unemployed right now. Let's say 1,200 people applied a particular job. So the human resources department says, I don't have time to look at 1,200 resumes. So I'm going to make it a 95% match or and above. So that takes it down to 300 resumes. Well, if you were at 92%, you wouldn't have even made that first cut. But if you're at 95%, that human resources person can say, I don't have time to go through 300 resumes. So I'm going to make it a 98% and above. So that takes it down to 18 resumes. Okay, so they're going to waste paper and they're going to print out 18 resumes or look at these more carefully, and they're going to decide pile A, pile B, pile C. Now, it could be the person that decides they're going to submit a cover letter, after all the interviews and whatnot, that person that wrote a cover letter could make or break the final cut for the first position for that job. But then again, it may not. So you never know what HR is going to do. It's their prerogative, but just know that there's limited amounts of time and hours in the day, and they have to be able to use this technology to help streamline their processes to find the right person for the job. Now, I've heard other HR people say, oh, we look at everything. Okay, well, you know, you never know, you never know, you never know. So the best thing to do is make sure that your profile is optimized or your resume is optimized with keywords. So uploading versus attaching, we already did address that. Now, when you do upload your resume, you don't want to upload the resume many, many times for the same job. That's going to hurt your cause rather than help your cause, because it's going to look like you're an idiot and that you don't know how to use technology. So that's not a good thing. It's not going to help you get noticed in a good way. It may raise some red flags. But if you apply to multiple positions in the same company, you may have different requisitions. So you may have requisition 1, requisition 2, requisition 3. They may all be project manager. So that could all be the same supervisor that's looking for 3 new project managers, or it could be 3 different supervisors, each looking for a project manager. So it's okay to apply multiple times to a company if there's different requisition numbers, because you never know how many managers there are on the other end that are looking for people like that. You also want to carve out your expertise, and rather than showcase yourself as a generalist. Now, there is something called an HR generalist, and that's okay. That is a proper title, but you really want to carve out your expertise. If you are in marketing, are you digital marketing? Are you in print marketing? You know, like, what is it that you do? Or do you have a multitude of experience and skills? And I love this, these 3 words. I took a content marketing analytics certificate at Penn State, Great Valley, and my professor said these 3 words, and I made an Instagram post out of it. It really resonates with me, riches and niches. So you all are on some bit of experience in your background, which is going to help to potentially play in your future, unless you want to reinvent yourself and pivot into a new career. But if you have some extensive experience in a particular industry, then you need to carve out that little niche and that expertise and use it to your advantage. You only want to have typical resume sections. So if you think about LinkedIn, LinkedIn has the same categories, and it's all consistent so that everybody knows where to find that particular information on anybody's LinkedIn profile. So you want to have, if you're doing a resume and not a CV, you want to use the terminology that's going to be read by the applicant tracking systems. So don't do affiliations or memberships or publications. And you certainly don't want to have an objective, because that hasn't been used for at least a decade or so. And you don't want to have references available upon request. That is not part of a modern current resume. There are places and times for that, but it is not on the initial resume. So you have to make sure that you understand, you know, what the current trends are in resume writing. And instead of listing job descriptions, you definitely want to list those quantifiable achievements under each of your jobs. And you want to customize with language from that job description, so you've got that matchy-matchy. So for that example with budgets versus budgeting, figure out how to wordsmith your language, your verbiage in your resume to change it from budgeting to budget or budgets, whatever is in the job description. And you want to use text analyzers for keywords to look at your job description. And I'm actually going to do a demo of this. So here are some of the keyword text analyzers that are available. My two favorites that I like are jobscan.co and wordart.com. Now, I like WordArt because it's free, it's quick, it's easy, it's down and dirty for me. I don't have to have a subscription, especially because I'm not looking for a job right now. I'm looking for a fit. But JobScan might be the right ticket for you as a job seeker. I think it's $49.95 a month, or it's $89.95 for 3 months. And they really do a great job with analyzing your resume and giving you some tips to help you through the platform that they have. So here's an example of a job that I found on Monster for a marketing director. You can see there are 5 clear paragraphs for this job. So I want you to do an experiment with yourself. I want you to find a job, and I want you to do this 3 ways. I want you to take the paragraphs and break them down individually and analyze them with a text analyzer. And I want you to take the beginning of the time that it started you to do this experiment to the time that at the end when you're done and getting the keywords. I then want you to also take it and take the whole job description, and I want you to do it in one fell swoop and to analyze the whole job description. And how long does that take you? What's the start time? What's the end time? Then I want you to take the job description and I want you to get out one of these, the old-fashioned yellow highlighter. And I want you to actually read the job description and highlight with the yellow marker exactly what you think the keywords are. And take the time at the start and time at the end. And then you're going to compare the words that you get using these 3 different techniques. And you're going to make a little chart for yourself and say, well, gee, how close did I get using technology versus using my manual system with my yellow highlighter? And that'll just give you some information that'll be useful to you. You don't need to do this for every job. Just do it for one job so you understand what it is that you're dealing with technology versus human interaction. Now, there's a program called Wordle.net that I used to like, and it creates a word cloud. So that is one platform that is available, but I don't use this one too much anymore, and I don't use tagcrowd.com anymore. What I really like is WordArt. So the reason I like WordArt is because it actually, when I give the job description, it actually gives me the exact number of times the word is used in the job description. Now, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly, of course. So if you have 2 words that go together, like higher education or account manager, it will tell you how many times higher is used, how many times education is used, how many times accounts used, and how many times managers used. It does not combine the 2. So that's the only problem with the free software. But along with WordArt being sort of a text analyzer, I can also make LinkedIn banners, word clouds with it. Now, once upon a time, I didn't know that I could make a rectangle word cloud. And so I was just making squares, and I was finding a nice sliver that would work. But I realized that you can actually create and make a rectangle from the get-go. You just have to know where the little button is. So you can see this LinkedIn banner too. It's underlined in this slide. So if you click on that after the fact, then it'll take you to an article that I wrote on our blog, and that has a step-by-step instructions on that. Now, this is a very old screenshot of jobscan.co, but the current status is that it does pretty much the same thing. You put your resume on one side, you put your job description on another side, and it comes up with a number of skills that are matched, what skills are found, and which ones are missing, so that you need to know where you have to wordsmith these keywords into. And you want to have this pretty resume and this deconstructed Arial 12-point font resume. So you're pretty much going to have 2 resumes for every job. And that's why you've got to have a process and a resume that's going to work and streamline your processes, because your time is valuable and you need to make sure that you do quality versus quantity. So you got to have a system set up to take your base resume that's pretty and your base resume that's deconstructed so that you can properly apply to the jobs online, unless, of course, you're just applying via email or through a employee referral, which is always really good. So again, here is my resume, the top of my resume, the top half of the 8.5 by 11 page. And I want to show you now what this looks like in an applicant tracking system, Arial 12-point font resume. There's nothing, there's no formatting. I do use some pipes in the headline, and I do change the core competencies. I change this to skills, and I do put this at the end of the document, but just for purposes of seeing Arial 12-point font, let me go back. Here's the pretty resume, and then here's the deconstructed, just so you can compare and contrast. Now, the article that I wrote back in 2014 for the Association of Talent Development, they are based out of Washington, D.C. area. And this particular article got so many likes and shares worldwide that they came back to me a couple years later and they said, would you like to write a chapter in a book? So the original article, I put the link in underneath there, but I did give you an updated version of the article because I've updated a few things. But the basis of that article wound up in chapter 8 in this book called Find Your Fit, A Practical Guide to Landing a Job You Love. There are 15 career coaches from around the country that contributed to this book. And my chapter 8 was called Applying for Jobs. So we started out with the basis of the applicant tracking system. And they said, oh, could you talk about the hidden job market? Could you talk about how do you apply and do salaries online when you're applying for jobs online, not during the negotiation phase? Could you give us an example of a resume? Could you give us an example of a value proposition letter? How about a cover letter? How about a T-style cover letter? So all my examples and my chapter are in this book, which you can order on Amazon or TDs, nothing I sell right now. Also, if you want to put your social media handles on, like your Twitter handle, it just shows that you're not a dinosaur. And if you are, of my vintage age, called a boomer, and it shows that you know how to use technology and you're current with it. And people do check you out on social media so they can see that you are, a decent person and you're hopefully posting things that are what I would call vanilla and nothing that is racist or political or religious or anything like that. So, keep your posts online vanilla because that will come back to haunt you. But I do want to do a live demo with word art, but I want to take any questions if you have them now. Or should I keep going?
No, we do have questions on that, and it's just that there's quite a few. So what I'm going to get people to do is just unmute and ask your questions because it'll just be a lot better than me trying to read it, quite frankly. So who would like to go first? I see Aaron have so Aaron, if you have a question, I'm just going to say go with you, and whoever has their microphone unmuted, I'm going to assume you have a question. So
if you have people raise their hands, then
yeah, that probably helps too, eh? Okay.
Or should I just wait and do this little demo first because it's 4:10?
Yeah, why don't we do the demo, then we'll ask the questions at the end.
All right, that sounds good. All right.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is now switch gears here. So I'm going to look for a job. Okay, we have budget here. let me look for a job for account manager in the greater Philadelphia area. Okay, so Phenom People. Okay, a Phenom People, they're an Ambler, and they're a pretty cool company. They have this job, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this job requirements. I have premium account, so right here, because this says I have the premium account, I do have a little bit of a competitive advantage to somebody that doesn't have a premium account. It shows the top skills that somebody needs to have. So right now, email marketing and team building, I do have these, but I don't have these keywords of advertising, marketing strategy, etc., listed on my profile. So if anybody asks me, gee, what's the benefit of having a LinkedIn premium account? Here's one example. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this job description. And I'm going to right click, I'm going to copy, and I'm going to go into wordart.com. Now, I already have my account set up, and you can set it up with various ways if you go to WordArt, but I can click create now. And what I'm going to do is click the red create button. And I'm going to click up here on the top left, it says import words. And I have this article that I wrote step-by-step instructions, so you don't have to write any of this down. Just concentrate on the visual now. And I'm going to click paste. Now, here, work experience, that's just a headline. Education, that's a headline. Work experience. Benefits. Actually, this about the company, I really don't need that either. I just want about the job. Now, I am going to uncheck the word stemming. So let me tell you what stemming is. If you think about root words, like I took 3 years of Latin. So if you think about root words, strategic is the root of strategically. And if you have the word place, places, placing, placement, place is the root of all these other various iterations. Because I want exact matchy, I don't want to have stemming. I want exact matchy, I don't want the root word. So now I'm going to click on import words, and boom, just like that, it tells me experience, organizations, accounts, roles, sales, selling. These are all the key words that I've got to have in my job description. So if I were to click on visualize, I can also get a visual of what this looks like. You can see experience is the biggest word, account, sales, role, organizations. Those are all very important words. And then you have secondary words. So the biggest words are big in the word cloud and so on and so forth to the smallest words. Now, I'm going to go back to here. And I think I got a couple more slides here. And I want to go through that, and then I'll take some questions. And then I can also show you how to make a LinkedIn banner if we do have time.
Lynn, the question is, the updated version link is not visible for your article. And Anita had said
Oh,
that. So
I will fix that. Okay. Thank you for letting me know. I will fix that. All right, so I am speaking in an awful lot of places over the next month. I took the month of July off because I was in 2 doctoral courses and I was moving. And that's why I have my banner in the back here, because I'm hiding a lot of boxes in the background. But I'm covering a lot of topics. I do teach like 15 hours worth of LinkedIn content. So a lot of this is basis of LinkedIn. And Speaking of LinkedIn, here are a whole bunch of LinkedIn workshops. I'm actually teaching the majority of them, but there is somebody coming from the Washington, D.C. area on August 12th that is presenting for us. So here's my contact information. Here's what I do to make my living. Here's all my contact information. Here's all the social media for the Philadelphia Area Great Careers Group. If you want to book a call with me, it's much better that you book a call. Please don't call because you might be catching me at a time when I'm doing a presentation and you wouldn't know that. So I already gave you the link to this particular deck. So if you came in late, please make sure you take a picture of this and make sure that when you type this particular link, it's a capital B and a capital ATS. Everything else is lowercase. It is case sensitive. So just real quick about the Philadelphia Area Great Careers Group. We were started in 2010. We have over 4,700 members on our one meetup, and we actually have over 6,300 members. We're in 6 states because we merged with Bang on May 1st. And so we have over 6,300 members and alumni. Bang is Business Executives Networking Group. That's all from mid to senior level. And it is based upon qualifications for an application. But the Philadelphia Area Great Careers Group is open. We are all inclusive, diverse, equitable, and open to all. So this second link here down at the bottom that says Career at Events, that is a Google Doc. That one I update absolutely positively the most frequently. And then I update the meetup. Not everything gets updated quickly on our Salesforce Bitly links or our website because we're all volunteer and we do have people that are on vacation now. So sign up at least somewhere so that you can, get reminded of things. And the meetup is really the best place because you can download that to your calendar. We also have a membership, which is an investment of $9.50 to 13 cents a day. You get a whole bunch of career goodies out of that. So enough on that. You can explore that on your own time. Now I'm going to go back to the, actually, maybe I'll just stop share for a minute and I will take questions. So I can actually look at the chat now, but it's probably best if we have
people ask. Yeah, people ask. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually, so if you want to raise your hand in the chat, just let us know you want to talk, and and Lynn will actually call you as you ask your questions. So who would like to go first?
I don't see any hands raised. Do you know how to raise the hand? I think that's under reactions. You've got a, no, there's only a clap or a thumbs up. Where's the raised hands?
It's
okay. Gishma. Okay, I'm going to lower your hand. Go ahead and ask your question.
I have a question regarding the keywords. Like if I include a keyword in my resume, like what should be the keyword density? Like how many times I should repeat the keyword in my resume?
I really don't know precisely exactly the answer to that. I think if the word is used, 7 times in the job description, I would try to use it more than once, but I really don't know the answer to that. It's one of those things that's called a mystery. So the best thing to do is just try to do best practices with these tips and tricks. And if you see it used lots of times, try and use it more than once.
Okay, thank you.
Because there's over 200 applicant tracking systems and I can't possibly know everything about everything. So I'm just giving you best tips and practices. And I just know that every time that I do this presentation, I get people's blood pressure raised because they're angry at themselves for doing the wrong thing for so many months and missing out on opportunities. So just think about this and take this as a learning opportunity where you can now change and do things a different way so that you know for the future going forward. All right, Cynthia.
Yes, just a quick question on the word art. I know that before you showed us how to change the graphics. Can you show us the button where we can I picked it so that it would upload the graphics, but I can't change it. So where would I change it?
Absolutely. Okay. So I'm going to go back to word art and I'm going to get rid of the example of the job description. So I'm going to leave that and I'm going to leave this and we're going to start with word art from create now. So let's say, Cynthia, give me what job are you trying to go for?
So revenue management, are some of the keywords are revenue management.
Hang on, one at a time. Revenue management. Okay. I'm just going to
strategy.
Okay.
Sales. Director.
Sales director.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Revenue operations.
Okay, if you're sales director, I'm going to put down business development.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough, I think.
Management was misspelled.
Thank you. Yeah, got to fix that. Manage. Okay. So what is the top word? Revenue management?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's say I'm going to weight that at 15. Strategy, maybe I'm going to weight that at 12. And sales director, maybe I'm going to weight that at 14. And then revenue operations, maybe 9. Business development, 8. And what about CRO?
Okay.
And oops. So I have 6. I typically do 6. So we're just going to use that to fill in. So now I'm going to choose shapes. So with the shapes, I'm going to choose geometric, and then you're going to see the square. Now here's the tricky thing. Pictures worth 1,000 words. Don't lose your eyes on this screen. When I hover my mouse over to the square, to the bottom right-hand corner, look at that. There's a little wheel. I didn't even know this was there for the longest time. So I'm going to click on the little wheel, and the aspect ratio, okay, does that kind of sort of look like a LinkedIn banner? You don't have to be a graphic designer to come up with a word art banner that will give your blue constellation banner a little life. So then I'm going to pick a font and we'll pick this one. This is a weird screen right now. I don't know why this is like this. And then I'm going to choose just horizontal for now. Now here's the tricky part. I don't want my headline to look like an Easter egg, so I have to customize these colors, right? So I'm going to click on custom. Now I don't want these colors. Let's say I want red, white, and blue. So I have this white thing that I can roll across this bar, and then I have this little black thing that I can roll around. So if I choose red and click here, I'm going to add red to palette. Then if I want maybe a gray, I'm going to add that to palette. Then I'm going to move it over to the blue, and I'm going to choose the blue, and I'm going to add to palette. Well, now how do I get rid of the green? I just click on it, and the periwinkle and the other blue, well, I'll keep that. That's not so bad. So now I hit close. Now what I want to do is I want to hit visualize. So I don't know if I want all of that in red, but it's not so bad. But I really think I want revenue management in blue, but I won't know until I get there, until I hit visualize. This could take 40 minutes until you hit, the exact right thing. But when you get something you kind of sort of like, you definitely want to keep it. Ooh, see, look at this. I got the different color of blue. I got the different color of red. I got blue. I like this. So what I'm going to do is up here, it says Word Art 284. And I'm going to do Cynthia. I think I spelled that wrong, didn't I? Yeah, I did. Cynthia 1. Okay. And now that I've hit save, it's saving as Cynthia 1. Now, let's say I want to try more because maybe I'll get it in a slightly different way that I like better. So now I'm going to click visualize. And maybe I like that. Oh, I kind of like that as gray. I'm going to change Cynthia 1 to Cynthia 2. And then I got to click save again. And it's going to give me this little message. Do you want to rename it or save as new? Well, I definitely want to save it as new. Okay, because I might want to go back to get the blue one rather than the gray one. So how do you download this? You just click on this word download, and just know that anything that's the standard PNG or standard JPEG, those are both free. If you get into these ones down here with a little black on it, high definition, you're going to pay for it. But mine is free. Yeah, it's a little blurry, but I want to try to show job seekers how to get some things for free. Free is always good. So I could just click on standard PNG, and you see how down in the bottom left-hand corner, there it is. And then do you see that on the screen? Do you or not?
Yes.
Okay. So what I would probably do is I'd go file, save as, and then, okay, so I'm going to get out of this and I want to go back. I got to find my doggone screen. I got the Zoom screen in the way. Bear with me a second. All right. So if I were to download it, okay, and I would drag and drop it to my desktop, then I want to actually rename it, and I want to do it with a meta tag. And I bet you any money you guys don't know what a meta tag is. So if you go back to our website to click on meta tag, there's an article on how to create a meta tag for your LinkedIn media. So your photograph on LinkedIn and your banner and any other media and uploads, recommendation letters, etc., PowerPoints that you put in your LinkedIn profile, you need to put your name associated with keywords. This is something that I teach in upcoming LinkedIn workshops that I know we don't have time for today because I know we only have a few minutes left. So let's go with some more questions here.
Actually, just before we could do that, I wouldn't mind just announcing what my webinars that I have coming up.
Sure.
And then we can do that and we'll come back to some questions. Now, Lynn, how much of a hard stop do you have on this? When do you?
I really have to go by 4:40 at the latest. I got to fly out the door. Yeah.
Okay, so about 10 more minutes after we're done here on that. So, and that works well with mine because I have an appointment I have to get to. So if I can just get you to stop sharing your screen, and I will just, I just want to announce some of my upcoming workshops and presentations. So 1 second here. Oh. Okay, so I'm just going to be talking really quickly about some other webinars I offer. And so I just need to move this. And as I mentioned, I have an executive coaching background. So a lot of my focus is really about helping people move to that next job or if they're in a career transition and whatnot. And I also work quite a bit with entrepreneurs and consultants and whatnot. So one of the presentations I have is determining or defining your ideal client. And it's really about whether or not you're business to business or business to consumer, what is specifically, you know, who are you going after? Because if you can't identify who your ideal client is, how can you sell to them? So that's something I run. But I have next week off because I'm going on holiday with my kids. But the week after that, on Tuesday, August 11th, I'm going to have ageism, navigating the potential minefield. And I'm actually thinking about retitling this to dealing with the isms, sexism, racism, ageism. And because how I suggest you manage those and how I suggest you actually navigate that is all the same. And there's a lot of isms out there, and you don't want to be held up by one. So that's going to be my next one, which is in just under 2 weeks. 2 days after that, I have video interviews, getting out of your own way. So I draw upon my executive coaching, or my video production background, and we talk about do's and don'ts on showing up for videos, video interviews, and how to, not get in your own way. I have 2 webinars on developing your elevator pitch or having a kick-ass elevator pitch. And the first day is about the value proposition, or also what I'm also calling is, what is your brand promise? Like, where do you take people to? Why should they hire you? And part of your value proposition is being able to say, you're going to pay me this for this service. And it's really defining that. On day 2, I have how to have a kick-ass elevator pitch, creating meaningful connections. And it's really about how do you, when you're networking, actually make connections with people that are going to actually take you to that next level, take you to that next conversation, have them lean in. Becoming a subject matter expert, how to position yourself as an expert industry leader, potential employers, is really about how to use social media to your advantage to demonstrate who you are. So that's something you might want to check out, because it's really about distinction and how you set yourself apart. And then I have another one, which is dealing with difficult interview questions. And it's all those questions that people hate, such as, tell me about yourself, what are your strengths and weaknesses, where do you see yourself in 5 years, why did you leave your last job? All those questions I deal with and whatnot. Here's one that I haven't put out there yet, but I will be doing it, and it's communication fundamentals. What is good communication? Where does it go off the rails? How do we actually stop it from becoming a big old chocolate covered mess when you're having a conflict? So that's the stuff I'll talk about. I do another webinar called What They Don't Tell You When They Tell You to Quit Your Job to Make a 6-Figure Income. And that's about the MLM space and also the gurus out there that are saying life is easy, quit your job and you can make $1 million, and they leave some information out. And then of course on Fridays I have Widen Your Gaze. And my basic premise of Widen Your Gaze is, don't try and fit in when you're born to stand out. So that's my email. That's my webinars that are coming up. Please register for them. They're always at 1 o'clock on Mountain Standard Time. They're complimentary, so you don't have to worry about paying for them, and you get a lot of information. So now if people are going to raise their hands, what we can do is go back, and we have about 8 more minutes. So, and we still getting some drop off, but there's still people that are really with us here, Lynn. So who would like to raise their hand or let them know that we have a question?
Lynn, can I jump in? It's Dave Pritchard.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, question for you. During the application process online, when a potential employer requests references, is that something that you must do, or you wait until, or you say, we'll provide upon, interview process or something to that effect?
I would not give out references before having an interview. Yeah, they're fishing. They're fishing.
Yeah, I have not. I just wondered if that was kind of negating me as a candidate by not putting it in there. I do put a reference to the effect of, hey, I'm willing to provide this upon, the interview process or something to that effect.
Yeah.
I'd actually like to weigh in on this and offer an opinion on this, and that is what I recommend and what I counsel people to do is actually, when they want your resumes, to say, what are you looking for in when you want your reference, what are you looking for in a reference? What do you want to see? And I've actually done this in jobs where what they told me they'd look for has nothing to do with what I assumed. I expected they wanted something, but they actually were looking something else. So being able to say, I want to give you the right person. I want to give you the best person. I have many people I can draw from, and what specifically are you want to be addressed, so that making sure on that. And and the bonus of that is you now get to go back to your references and say they're going to ask you about this. And even if you don't have more than 3 references, they don't need to know that. Say, I've got a lot of references. A lot of people want to sing my praise. What do you want to hear? And I've been surprised how what they've wanted to know has nothing to do with what I thought. So that's my tip on that.
Thanks, guys.
So quick question. It's Adele Hogan, New York lawyer. So I typically get contracts essentially. You know, it's a paper intensive offer and acceptance situation. But someone's discussing with me, it's not an offer, but it's discussing with me the possibility of like starting Monday, here are the terms, do you need a contract? In this environment, I'm not sure I do. I have a back and forth on email, but what's your advice? Lynn?
If you are being offered a W-2 job, you're going to be filling out an I-9 and a W-4, and it's going to be an employment situation. If you are working as a contractor, I would imagine that you would need a contract, especially if you are an attorney. You know, like when I write resumes and LinkedIn profiles, I have a proposal that I send to people so that they know what the expectations are and the hourly rate and whatnot. And I don't do it by the project. I do it by the hour because everybody's individual, but it is in writing so they can see what it is that is being proposed. I think you need to have something concrete in writing.
Yeah, I've never encountered this, and it was just I didn't know if COVID made like life change upside down or what's going on. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, writing makes things very clear. Yeah.
We had another hand raised by, I changed screens and I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce it right.
Zipporah?
Zipporah.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks.
Zipporah. I apologize.
If we have a 2-page resume or a 3-page resume, do we need to repeat the contact information at the top?
When you are doing a deconstructed resume, the answer is no. You
Okay.
absolutely don't want that.
Okay.
To just flow one big old long document.
Say the heading, you know, work experience if it carried over.
And I typically do not do that anyway. I do it on the second page. I don't put a full header on. I put the name and page 2, but it is not part of the header on the pretty resume. I just put it in, build it into the Word document.
Oh, okay. That was another question. Okay.
Yeah, no headers, no footers. No, no, no.
And do we lump under core competencies? So I'm in the IT field. So we usually have to list software that we know, tools, things like that. Do we lump that in soft skills or whatever other skills plus technical skills under core competencies?
You can do that 2 ways. So for people in IT, you might have core competencies and technical skills. They may be 2 separate categories.
Okay.
The applicant tracking system, it might possibly be more efficient if you combine them all in one at the end, which is skills. But you have to see what the system wants.
Oh, okay.
If
Thanks.
you break it down that way or not. And you never know. So sometimes it's easier just to slap it all together in one. And then if you need to break it down, you can break it down.
Okay.
Okay, well, I am actually going to say we're at 2:38. I highly recommend that if you want to have some more questions with Lynn, that you reach out to her and talk with her. And I just want to thank Lynn for coming out and doing this. I learned so much today, and it's really nice to have that, to have a subject matter come in and talk about something, quite honestly, I haven't had to deal with, because a lot of the business up here aren't as automated up in Canada, like there are ones out there, but that's something that I haven't seen a lot of. So you really filled in a lot of blanks for me and stuff about that. And I would actually say when people talk to me and says, yeah, I don't know about that. I'm not going to give you advice because I'd be guessing. And I'm glad I didn't say that, because I made a lot of assumptions about what was going on things like that. And yeah, I think of all the jobs I lost because I wasn't, the odd time I applied for those corporate positions and I didn't get, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, but the bottom line is you need to network your way to your next job. but be aware of the applicant tracking system, but network.
It's all about networking on that. So I just want to, again, thank you very much. Thanks for everyone that came out on your Friday afternoon to be part of Widen Your Gaze, and please come back and check out other webinars. I really enjoy being able to present and offer information. So
And
you guys
click
take care.
on the 3 dots on the bottom of the chat so you can save the chat before he goes bye-bye.
Yeah. And you want that? Someone was saying that they have a hard time saving it, or that they don't know. Do you know where it goes? That's been an issue, is where does it go when it's saved?
It pops up on your computer after you shut the Zoom down, and it comes to as a text, a message chat text or something like that.
Yeah, and it's
I'll just click save, but I really have to go because I got to be someplace before 5 and I got to drive. So contact me afterwards and I'd be happy to share that chat later. But I am going to run. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. And come and network with the Philadelphia Area Great Careers Group and come learn with us.
The chat goes into your documents folder, and within the documents folder, there is a Zoom folder, and within the Zoom folder, this chat will appear.
It doesn't for me. I have a Mac, so I think everybody.
I was gonna ask about the Apple fans in there on that.
Yeah.
Anyway, Lynn's got to go, so we're gonna sign off now, and I'm going to sign off in the room. So thanks everyone.
How do we view this on YouTube?
I put in the YouTube channel. I put in the chat box my YouTube address, so I'll just put it in there one last time just to make sure, and that you have that. 1 second as I find it here. And to everyone, not to private, everyone. Okay, and I was having troubles with the title of my name of my YouTube channel. For some reason it didn't take, so that's why it doesn't have my name on it. But again, thank you everyone for coming out, and you take care and good luck on your job searching. We're in an interesting time. Okay, bye now.
Bye.